Welcome back, Warriors. I'm your Quartermaster again, and it's great to see y'all. Welcome to the fourth video of my Weapon Workshop series, just in case you were wondering if you were watching these in order for some reason. If this is your first time here, then welcome. In this tutorial series, I look at all the relevant statistics for all the weapons we're supplied with for this 2042 conflict. Mind you, some of the info on the weapon crates aren't exactly accurate, so that is why I'm here, to test them out for you and get you the most accurate info available. On top of gathering info, I also give you my 3 suggested builds to take into the field for dealing with all manner of combat situations. Today we'll be taking a look at our first LMG, the LCMG. The LCMG is based on the American LWAMG manufactured by Knight's Armament Company. It's chambered in the 7.62 by 51 NATO round and has a base belt size of 100 rounds. It has a fire rate of roughly 588 rounds per minute, slightly less than the listed 600 RPM on the weapon crate. Take the rates of fire with a grain of salt though. There can always be slight human error. The base LCMG deals 26 damage to the body from 0 to 19 meters and has a headshot multiplier of 2. After that, damage drops to 22 between 20 and 79 meters before finally reaching its minimum damage of 18 at 80 meters and beyond. This weapon has a long barrel that drops our fire rate from 588 down to 512, and the short barrel that increases it from 588 to 681 rounds per minute. These will of course affect our TTK, so keep that in mind. Using this info, this weapon has a base TTK value of 306 milliseconds to 510 milliseconds. Dropping just one headshot in there changes these times to be between 204 milliseconds and 408 milliseconds. The ammo conversion kits for this weapon are mostly accurately labeled, although some have strange statistical changes that were omitted from the labeling. The CQC rounds increase our rate of fire to 645 and reduce our range by quite a bit. Our base damage of 26 is only in play until you reach 5 meters. After that, between 6 and 20 meters, we hit 22 damage to the body. From 21 meters and beyond, we drop all the way down to 18 damage. This definitely makes these rounds less effective at range, meaning that even with the increased rate of fire, given typical LMG engagement ranges, these rounds may not be worth using. Using these statistics and assuming all body shots, we end up with a TTK between 279 and 465 milliseconds. Mixing in just one headshot will change that to 186 and 372 milliseconds. Keep in mind, you'll more often than not be going to be at the lower end of those TTK values when using this ammo. The high-powered rounds we're offered basically do the same on the box. They only come in 75 round belts and increase our range by 100%, boosting our 4-shot kill range all the way out to 39 meters. After that, I couldn't really find a line of sight that would drop the damage any lower than 22, so these are definitely a good mid-range choice. Our recoil is also higher here, and the reloading rate of fire is a little bit slower, sitting at 535 rounds per minute. The TTK for the HP rounds is 336 to 449 milliseconds. Mixing in a headshot will drop that to be between 224 and 336 milliseconds, meaning at longer ranges this ammo actually has better TTK value than the CQC rounds, despite the 110 RPM difference. This weapon can also utilize a 75 round belt of armor-piercing rounds. These rounds can damage all vehicles, although not to the same degree that explosives can, and can punch through more forms of cover. However, in exchange for this, these rounds do less damage to infantry, have fewer rounds in the base belt, and reload and fire slower. These rounds only fire at 542 RPM instead of the base 588. The AP rounds have the same ranges as the base belt, but they don't have a 4-shot kill range. Instead, damage starts out at 22 to 19 meters and drops to 18 damage beyond that. These bullets do about half a point of damage to jeeps and tanks, so not a ton, just like every other time, except for once there's enough ammo with this weapon to actually do some serious damage for once. Against infantry, the TTK values for these rounds are 443 milliseconds to 554 milliseconds. Consistent with every other weapon, you can see the minimum TTK for these bullets is almost double that of the factory magazines. Mixing in a headshot will change that to 332 and 443 milliseconds. For some reason, this LMG also has subsonic rounds. They are just a little complicated. They have the exact same damage profile as the factory ammunition, but they have slightly different ranges. The 4-shot kill range extends to 29 meters instead of the base 19. After that, we deal 22 damage between 30 and 49 meters before reaching our minimum 18 damage at 50 meters. It provides a strange boost to our maximum damage range while severely shortening our mid and low damage ranges. They also fire slower at 535 rounds per minute, meaning that this ammo has a TTK value of 336 to 561 milliseconds. And a headshot in there changes these times to be 224 and 449 milliseconds.
Suppressors, as usual, continue to make our bullets less lethal. Between 0 and 19 meters, using a suppressor will drop your damage to 24, loss of 2 points of damage, and increasing the number of shots to kill by 1. From 20 to 79 meters, damage is 20, and beyond that, we do 17 damage, both of which don't actually change our TTK at all. Since we now need 5 shots at close and medium ranges, we technically now have 2 damage ranges. Using a suppressor will make our TTK values between 408 and 510 milliseconds, and a headshot will drop these to 306 to 408 milliseconds. We have our 5 typical ammo types for this weapon, so testing them out was pretty easy. Since the LCMG has a massive ammo pool, I just went with testing out 40 rounds each. As you can see, everything basically adds up to what it says on the ammo boxes aside from the armor-piercing rounds. They seem to have the same recoil as the high-powered rounds, which is interesting to note. Overall, the LCMG seems to have mostly vertical recoil, so mitigating that side-to-side bounce is unimportant. My first suggested combo, the Shredder, focuses primarily on pushing buildings and close-range fighting. We start out using iron sights because an optic simply won't be needed for the closer-range fights we'll be engaging in. Standard issue belts are next, that way our 4-shot kill range doesn't get diminished and we have a huge amount of base ammo anyway. The underbarrel Master Key shotgun will next be used for supreme effectiveness up close while slowing our ADS speed. We then end with the shortened barrel for a great boost to our rate of fire while only sacrificing some bullet velocity, something that's less of an issue up close anyway. The Shredder is great for getting up close to the enemy and dropping them. The irons for the LCMG are pretty good in my opinion for the range we'll be fighting in, and we don't need any zoom or any of our peripheral vision to be blocked. It might be a little odd if most of you use optics, but you get used to it fast enough. I decided to forego the CQC rounds, even though combining them with the short barrel will give us a blistering 738 rounds per minute. The CQC rounds really reduce our range, something we can't really afford up close. The Master Key is a tricky attachment to use. When you round the corner and fill the enemy with buckshot, it's extremely satisfying. However, if you are hip firing this weapon, you will miss more than 75% of the time. I'm not quite sure what the problem is with this underbarrel shotgun's configuration, but you must aim in to land a solid deadly shot with this. Your reticle will disappear, but center the enemy in front of you, aim in, and squeeze to drop them. This class overall will have you basically running 2 weapons at once. Pillbox, my second suggested build, is meant for holding positions and playing a defensive support role. For an optic, we can use either the 8R Hollow for when we're on the move, or swap to the Shan 2.5X optic for precise stationary defensive positions. These standard issue extended belts are a great choice as they give us 100% more ammo. This belt just takes longer to reload, so make sure you aren't doing that too often. The ADR Bipod is next to make you far more accurate when you go prone, great for holding the line. Lastly, I suggest the Arcom Tactical Muzzle Brake to cut down on our vertical recoil since, if you're using this class properly with the bipod, our horizontal recoil, what little there is already heavily reduced, so this will help our bullets from kicking too high. Pillbox is a dream build for any of you soldiers who actually enjoy holding an objective instead of just running off with the rest of the mindless crowd to the next hostile objective. I still hold firm that the AR Hollow Sight is the best optic in this entire operation, and the same holds true here. However, if you're looking to be more precise and make the most out of your 200 factory rounds from your ammo belt, the Shan 2.5X optic could certainly provide the good zoom most of you are looking for to hold a mid-range firefight. The ADR Bipod works very well here, just as it did with the DM7. When deployed and prone, the bipod really cuts down on all forms of recoil and keeps your aim very steady. Since the bipod will do most of the recoil control, I figured using a muzzle brake to reduce vertical recoil. This will help when deploying the bipod and when on the move. But if you're using this class optimally, fighting on the move shouldn't even be a concern most of the time. Our final combo, the Tank Buster, is strictly for eliminating vehicles. I'd recommend using the 8R Hollow Sight for the best overall optic for a variety of engagement ranges. Armor-piercing rounds are next to put some hurt into hostile vehicles, averaging around 33 damage per belt. The 40mm AP underbarrel launcher is a great explosive anti-material option, offering 3 quickly deployable explosive grenades. And we end with the factory barrel since we don't need anything special to be putting the pain on these enemy vehicles. If your squad is being constantly harassed by some annoying flyboy or a tank that just won't die, then look no further than my Tank Buster build. Combining this class with rockets will make you the ideal anti-armor soldier. The 8R Hollow is here because it's great and the factory barrel doesn't hurt or help anything. The big names here are the 75-round armor-piercing ammo belt and the 40mm armor-piercing underbarrel launcher. While the AP rounds do less than half a point of damage to vehicles, the AP launcher deals a solid 35 points of damage to Jeeps and 19 damage to tanks. Great for a quick follow-up on a Jeep or hovercraft you just hit with the M5. While the AP ammo doesn't do a ton of damage to vehicles or infantry, it's great for harassing helis and keeping them from strafing your squad as much. Of course, a solid rocket is always better, but if your aim is just off on a particular day, or if you're out of rockets from fighting other vehicles, this ammo will definitely help you out. I wouldn't go into a fight with this loadout. This is definitely just a support build. And there you have it, folks, all the stats you need to know and the best builds that properly utilize your standard issue LCMG. Combo 1 is best for close quarters, clearing rooms and getting right into the enemy. Combo 2 is a better defensive build for holding an objective against multiple waves of hostiles or for offering support fire for a push. And build 3 is specifically for anti-armor purposes. I did my best to get the most accurate stats on my personal testing of these weapons, so what do y'all think of the LCMG? How's it been treating you? Let me know down below. I did my best to get the most accurate stats on my personal testing of these weapons. And with that, if I did a good job today with this briefing, be sure to leave me a like and subscription to show the Major that you want more statistical briefings just like this one. And with that, I've been your Quartermaster, and until next time, I will see you later.